Hello, I'm Elizabeth Pompey with DAV, and we're coming to you from the 2024 DAV and Auxiliary National Convention. This is day 2, and we just wrapped up our first business session where we recognize lots of great members doing great things. One of those veterans being Joe Smarro. Joe, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So Joe's the recipient of the Arthur H. and Mary E. Wilson Top Venture Impacting Award. I'm surprised I remembered all of that, and also scholarship came along with that. Joe, if you can start, you're a Marine Corps veteran, just telling us a little bit about your service, the when and where.
Yeah, so I joined the Marine Corps in 2000, straight out of high school, and I did 4 years in the Marine Corps with 1-4 out in Camp Horno, Camp Pendleton, and 2 combat deployments, first one to Afghanistan, the second one to Iraq, and we were with the first push up into Iraq with the 1st Marine Division back in 2003.
All right, and so I know that after you separated from the Marines, you joined the San Antonio Police Department for, what, 15 years? Okay.
15 years.
You worked in the mental health unit doing crisis intervention. Tell us what crisis intervention is.
Yeah, so crisis intervention team training is a comprehensive 40-hour training, but the actual implementation of that training is just to me, when I went through the training, it was something that was like, this is what police work should be, knowing how to effectively communicate with the community members, whether they had a mental illness or not. No one's calling the police when things are going well, so even if it's an emotional disturbance, to me it was very important that we understood how to better communicate with those individuals. So I went through the training, it really opened my eyes, and then when the unit started back in 2008, 2009, I was like, that's something I have to get on, and I applied, and I was very fortunate to get on, and that was it. I knew the rest of my career was going to be spent on the mental health unit, and it was a beautiful blessing. It was also cathartic. It truly saved my life because it was some of the darkest times in my life as well, and I realized as I was helping people in the community of San Antonio, I was seeing so much of myself. A lot of the same suffering, suicidal ideations, and that was before I started getting help, and it was the work through the mental health unit that made me realize I needed some help myself, and so I started going to therapy now 15 years ago at the vet center actually, and it saved my life, transformed my life, and I'm still engaged in treatment to this day all these years later.
And I have to imagine you're not alone in that shifting to this mental health focus is probably good for the first responders as well.
Yeah, it's huge. Very similar to the military population, suicide is the thing that plagues us the most. And for a first responder, we train so much in our training academies across the nation. It doesn't matter where it is, but there's so much emphasis placed on, the preparing for the bad person out there, the ambush, getting killed in the line of duty. But what we know is the data doesn't lie to us, and suicide continues to be the #1 killer of first responders. And so my passion, my work with Solution Point Plus, our team, everything we focus on, no matter what training we're doing, we use that as a vehicle to really get in and know the individual first responder. That's why one of our taglines is to focus on the person, not the problem. And we want them to feel seen, feel valued, feel understood, loved, respected, trying to prevent that suicide from ever taking place.
So after you left San Antonio Police Department, you founded Solution Point Plus. Tell us what that is and what work you are doing.
Yeah, so we actually started Solution Point Plus while I was still with the police department back in 2017, and it was strictly a side hustle. I saw a need, especially in the rural Midwest, and our first client was in the great state of Iowa. We're still there every month. We've been there 7 years now, but it really was just a side hustle. It was a way for Jesse and I to make some extra money doing something that was impactful and meaningful to us, but we didn't realize the grand scale of it. We both voluntarily decided to resign from the police department in the latter part of 2020, and now we've been doing this full-time ever since we left in 2020. We say international because we do a lot of work up in Canada as well, but we're a training company. It's not just first responders either. We work with, it's all police, fire, EMS, corrections, and dispatch, but also healthcare industries, public school systems. In fact, after we leave this convention tomorrow, we're heading up to San Jose, where our newest client is the VTA, it's the Valley Transit Authority, training all their transit workers in our de-escalation model. Our largest client is actually the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and so that's our federal contract, and we are responsible for training all of the federal prisons throughout the U.S. in our de-escalation model as well, which has been a huge blessing.
How does your military service inform what you do today, and how did it prepare you to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think the military service for me really, it's a credibility factor, right? Obviously the values, the ethos, everything you learn from military service, especially from deployments, having to prepare the mindset, the mentality, the discipline to get ready for a deployment, but also that transition to come back and then settle in, knowing how to turn it on and turn it off, knowing when. It took me a long time. I'm not going to pretend it was easy by any means, But that to me is what entrepreneurship is. It's knowing when to turn that valve on, when to scale it back, when too much is too much, when not enough is not enough. But it really gave me the skills, the insights, the discipline to know that this will not fail, which is what allowed me, I think, to be a successful business owner, entrepreneur. Is failure is not an option. Failure is going to happen, right? But to me, failure is the most information data-rich stream that exists. Of course we're going to fail, but we want to fail fast so that we can learn from it, iterate, and then try again. Giving up is the thing that I learned in the Marine Corps is just not going to happen. We will win, we will persevere, we will continue at all costs, and it's been a great thing to carry over into the starting a business and now growing and scaling a business.
So earlier today, you were recognized for all the work that you do yourself and Solution Point Plus. Tell me what it was like to stand on that stage with a room full of veterans.
It's awesome. I mean, it's humbling for sure. And as someone that does a lot of keynote speaking, I'm comfortable in those environments. But this was the production at DAV is something I was not prepared for. I'm gonna be honest. I was backstage with Jesse, and I'm like, this is a massive operation. And luckily, again, in anyone that's done any stage speaking, something on this scale, you can't even really see the audience, which is a little unfortunate. But they blind you with the lights to make you look beautiful. But I knew the impact of who was in the room. I knew that I was in a room, just talk about safety and comfort and family, being in a room of however many thousands of members were in there. It's really humbling, but it's also it's such a peaceful and calm experience knowing that you're amongst like-minded individuals that are just trying to maximize their own human experience, do well, live well, love well. It was a beautiful blessing for me, for sure.
Joe, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for everything you continue to do. Any final words for folks watching?
Yes, always. Take care of yourself, love each other better, but you got to start with yourself. I push so hard to be selfish. Not in the text that society has done a poor job of making us feel like being selfish is a bad thing. It's not. We've got to love ourselves so that we can love each other. And at all costs, again, you have to be number one. And if there's one thing I can leave you with, it's just that. Become more selfish, but do it for selfless reasons, not selfish reasons. When you learn to prioritize yourself and take better care of yourself, you can then show up and love on each other better, and that would be my takeaway for all of you. And I'm really, really grateful to the DAV for this opportunity, this recognition. Thank you so much. And thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to follow DAV on social media all week for updates from the convention.